Welcome to Algebra Section 1-4. We are going to be translating English into math. Some words that indicate the main operations in math are listed here, and these should be in your notebook. For sum, addition, we have sum, increase by, more than, add. For minus sign, we have the difference, decrease by, less than, minus, subtract. They all mean to subtract. Multiplication, we have the word product, times, and multiplied by. And division, you'll see the words quotient and divided by. There are some special cases to be aware of. The words less than, sum, and difference. If I have a phrase that says 7 less than twice the number, this is the one time I cannot translate left to right. So I'm going to have to put twice the number, twice x, and then subtract 7. If you think about your age, as you said 7 less than your age, say you're 14 years old, you would take 14 minus 7 and not 7 minus 14. The words sum and difference both indicate a set of parentheses. If I say twice the sum of a number and 5, then I would take twice the sum, so I would need the parentheses, and I would have to add the number and 5 first. So because it says twice the sum, I need parentheses, so I make sure I add first, and I multiply the sum by 2 and not x or 5. And if I have 6 more than the difference of a number and 5, 6 more would be 6 plus, and the word difference means I have to do the subtraction, and I want to add 6 to the answer to that subtraction problem. So difference of a number and 5 would be n minus 5. In most of the word problems that you'll be seeing this year in algebra, you're going to find these formulas frequently. We're going to be using the area formula for a rectangle. Area equals length times width. So if you have a rectangle, remember you take the length times the width. So the area here would be 5 times 6, which is 30. Perimeter is the distance around the shape. So here we would have the length was 6 and the width was 5. So we would have 2 6s, 2 lengths, plus 2 widths. And that's where we get the formula for perimeter. Distance is how far you traveled based on how fast you're going times the time you travel. So if you were going 20 miles per hour and you went for 5 hours, you would go 100 miles. And a standard formula for business cost. Cost equals the number of items you're buying times the price per item. So if you wanted the cost of 4 pairs of pants, and they were $30 a pair, it'd be $120. On your vocab check, we are going to review subtracting mixed numbers. So the following problems here, if I have 6 minus 3 and 2/3, I have to subtract a 2/3 from something. So in order to get something there, I have to borrow the whole number 1 from 6. I'm working with thirds, and if I borrow 1, that's equivalent to 3/3. So now I can subtract 2 from 3 is 1/3, and 3 from 5 is 2. And if I add these together, I can see I get 6. Another example of this, 15 minus 9 4/7. I have nothing to subtract the 4/7 from, so I make that 14. Borrow the whole number 1 and turn it into 7/7. So you always turn it into the same number on top and the bottom as the fraction that you're subtracting. So 7/7 take away 4/7 is 3/7, and 9 from 14 is 5. Here we have 2 mixed numbers whose denominators are the same. However, I can't take 2 from 1, so I borrow from the 8, making it 7. Now I'm borrowing 1, which is 3/3 added to the 1. And there's a little trick here. If you just add those two numbers together, you get the right amount. So 3/3 plus 1, or 3 plus 1 is 4. Now I can subtract 2 from 4 is 2. So I have 2/3. And 2 from 7 is 5. And if I add those, I'll get back to 8. This last example, we don't have the same denominator, so we have to take the fraction part and rename it. The least common denominator for 4 and 5 is 20. 4 goes into 25. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 goes into 24. 4 times 8 is 32. I cannot take 32 from 15, so I'm going to borrow 1 from 14, making it 13. And I'm working with the denominator 20, so I'm borrowing 20 20ths added to the 15 20ths. Just add these two together, so I have 35 20ths. 32 from 35 leaves me 3, and 8 from 13 is 5. That finishes the vocabulary. You need to get your book and your paper for your evens. We're on page 16. Make sure your paper is headed, math room number, full name, full date. You skip a line. Title is page 16, written 1 to 52. Skip a line. Now I'm going to write the problem out. You do not. You can translate directly. So what you see in blue is the only thing that you need to write down. So problem number 2. The book says 4 times the number. We're going to translate it to a phrase. If they do not give you the variable, you can choose any letter of the alphabet. I chose X here. So 4 times the number is 4X. Remember not to use the time sign. Problem number 4, the sum of 3 and a number. Translating left to right, the sum means to add. 3 plus a number I chose this time, n. Again, you do not have to write the problem out on these. Just go ahead and translate. Problem number 6, a number increased by 10. I need a variable to represent a number. I chose m. Increase by means to add. And remember, if you don't know which operation to use, keep your notebooks handy. So m plus 10. Number 8, a number divided by 3. There are several ways you could write this. I chose the variable x. I used this division sign in 3. I could have also written it as a fraction, x fraction bar 3. That's the same thing as x divided by 3. Or 1/3 x. Taking a third of something is the same as dividing it by 3. So any of those would be fine. Number 10, the difference between a number and 2. Now I see the word difference, but I don't need parentheses here because I'm not doing anything to the difference. I do know that difference means to subtract, so it's going to be a number x minus 2, the difference between some number and 2, x minus 2. Number 12, I see the words less than, and I know immediately I cannot translate left to right. This is that one exception. It says 4 less than 5 times the number. I will have to do 5 times the number first, which I chose the variable m, 5m, and then minus 4. 14, 11 more than 1/3 of a number. 11 more than means plus 1/3 of a number, and I chose the variable x. 16, 10 times the sum of a number, and 9. So this is 10 times the sum, so I have to use parentheses. So here's my 10, here's my parentheses. I don't need a sign between them because I know parentheses in a number mean multiplication. And in the parentheses, I have to write the sum, x plus 9. Problems 17 through 26, you're to match each phrase with the corresponding variable expression in the second column. So again, you don't have to write the problem, but you do translate it and then find it and give me the letter. So twice the sum of a number and 3, that would be 2 parentheses, as I'm going for sum, x plus 3. And if I go through the list over here, I can see that's A. So A is my solution. Number 20, the difference between 3 times a number and 1. So I'm not doing anything to the difference, so I don't need parentheses. So it'd be 3 times a number, 3x. Difference means minus 1. And looking through the list, I can find that D matches what I came up with. Problem 22, 5 less than 6 times a number. Again, here's that one exception from I can't go left to right as I translate. I have to do 6 times a number first, so that's 6x minus 5. Looking through the list, the second column, I can see that that is J. 24, I have twice a number increased by 3. So translating left to right, twice a number would be 2 times a variable. I chose x. Increased by 3 plus 3. And looking at the list, I can see that F is the same as my mathematical equation or phrase. Number 26, I have 2 increased by 5 times a number. So 2 increased by is plus 5 times the number 5x. Looking at the list, I find 5x plus 2, which is the same as that, and that's letter E. (27) through 32, complete each statement with a variable expression. You don't have to write the problem out. Just translate. Adam is 9 inches shorter than Jeff. If Jeff's height is J, what would you do to it to represent Adam's height? Adam is 9 inches shorter than Jeff. So if Jeff is J, you would need to take away 9. So J minus 9 represents Adam. 30. Dale has twice as much money as Leo. If D stands for the amount of money that Dale has, and he has twice as much money as Leo, then Leo would only have half of his amount. So I have 1/2 D. 32, the product of two numbers is 18. If one number is y, then the other number would be represented how? Here I have x times y equals 18. Two numbers multiplied together equal 18. And I'm trying to figure out how to represent the other number. So I'm going to divide both sides by y. So if I took 18 and divided by y, I could figure out x. So it's 18 divided by y. 34 has 2 parts. Be sure you do both parts when you do 33 and 35, or it'll be an incomplete. 34, it says Ruth weighs 5 pounds less than Aaron. Problem A. If Ruth's weight is R pounds, then how would you represent Aaron's weight? Well, if Ruth is R, and Ruth weighs 5 pounds less than Aaron, then Aaron must weigh 5 more. So R plus 5 for Aaron. Question B. If Aaron's weight is E, then how would you represent Ruth's weight? Well, if Aaron is E, and Ruth weighs 5 pounds less, then Ruth, you'll have to take away 5 pounds from Aaron's weight, so E minus 5. 36. Two numbers differ by 12. If the smaller number is S, then the larger number is what? So you have this larger number, take away the smaller number, equals 12. If I add the smaller number to both sides, that would give me the larger number. So the larger number is S plus 12. And if you use some real numbers, sometimes that helps also. So if I had 14 minus 2, that would equal 12. So to find the larger number, I would have just had to add the 12 and the 2, the smaller number in the answer. B, if the larger number is L, then the smaller number is, so we have this larger number take away a smaller number is 12. If you take another real example, you have 16 minus something equals 12. Well, if you took the 16 minus the 12, you could figure out that it was 4. So what we need to do is subtract the answer from the larger number. So in this case, it would be L minus 12 would give us the smaller number. Number 38, answer each question using those formulas that were on page 15 or in your notebooks. Dick drove for 8 hours at 85 kilometers per hour. How far did he go? The formula to use is D equals R times T, rate times time. Copy that down. And then you put D equals the rate 85, and H represents the hours that he went, so it's 85H. Yogurt costs number 40. Yogurt costs 75 cents per container. How much would X containers cost? Use the cost formula. Cost equals the number of items times the price. Well, the number of items is X. The price is 75, so we would write it as 75X. Whenever we write a variable phrase, the number always goes before the variable. 42, turn the page. It says sketch a rectangle having a length of 7 and a width of W, and then indicate the perimeter. So draw your rectangle. The width is W, the length is 7. Use the formula perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. This is another way of doing it too. So we could have 2 times 7 plus 2 times the width, so that would be 14 plus 2W. Number 44, it says shirts cost $20 each and ties cost $12 each. How much will S shirts and T ties cost? Well, cost is the number of items times the price per item. So the total cost would be the cost of the shirts. Total cost of the shirts would be $20 times the number of shirts S, plus the $12 for each tie times the number of ties, which is T. So 20S plus 12T. Number 46, again, these are 2 problems, so make sure that you watch out for the odds, that you realize you have 2 different problems in each of these. This one says, first of all, how many days are in 4 weeks? Since there are 7 days in 1 week, and we have 4 weeks, we would take 4 times 7 and have 28 days. That gives us the formula that we take in order to figure out how many days in a certain number of weeks. We take 7 times the number of weeks. So our formula would be 7W. Remember, those are 2 different problems. Number 48, again, 2 problems. How many minutes are in 330 seconds? And then part B in S seconds. Since there are 60 seconds in 1 minute, we would take the total number of seconds, divide it by 60, and we would find out that there's 5.5 minutes, or 5.5. Our formula then would be to take total number of minutes would equal the total number of seconds divided by 60. So it'd be S divided by 60. Problem number 50 says that Vera drove at the rate of R kilometers per hour and Kim's average speed was 3 kilometers faster. After 2 hours, how far would Vera have traveled and Kim traveled? Well, you have 2 parts here, so make sure you have both parts written down and watch out for 50, well, 52 is okay. It's number 49. So Vera, the distance formula is used here is distance equals rate times time, and Vera's rate is R, and her time is 2, so her total distance would be represented by 2R. Kim, however, was going 3 kilometers faster than Vera, so her rate is R plus 3 times T, which was 2 hours. So you could have R plus 3 times 2 in parentheses, or 2 times the quantity, R plus 3. 52 says the difference between 2 numbers is 8. The smaller number is M. How do you find the larger number? So something minus something equals 8. And if we let m stand for the smaller number, then we would add m to both sides to get the bigger number. So the larger number is m plus 8. And you can see, if I wanted to know what would the larger number be here so I could take away 2 to get 8, I would add 2 and find out it was 10. So we always take the the smaller number, and add 8, and we would get the larger number. That concludes the evens. Use the back of the book to help you make sure that you're figuring out the answers. Good luck on the odds.